is. You know, you in front of the courthouse trying to act like you're tough. Like, yeah, what's up? Yeah, let's go around the corner. Let's go around the corner. Come on, let's go. To beat you up. Turn around. Like your mother's ugly? Like your mother's ugly? Oh, okay. Okay. Watch. Yeah, okay. We can test it right now. Right now, ugly. Everything. Oh, you thought you was gonna see something ugly, bitch. You wasn't. But you wasn't. Same here. You see what's up? Same here. You see what's up? Oh.
No one anticipated that he would testify, much less criticize the woman he previously referred to as his queen. The chamber fell silent when Papoose entered the courtroom. All the phones were raised. All murmurs were quieted. This was neither a red carpet event nor a rap fight. This was the actual world. This man had to make the most difficult choice of his life. Either tell the truth or defend the woman he had supported through it all. However, something changed when he turned to face Remy Ma, who was wearing a chilly gray suit, her eyes unfocused and her hands clenched. He had reached an irreversible point because of the same passion that had motivated him to fight for her release. And everyone was left speechless by what he said next. But you have to go back to a period when their love was unbreakable to comprehend. Why Papoose would ever do anything like this? Remy Ma and Papoose weren't your typical couple. They served as the model for loyalty. Papoose didn't fold when Remy was incarcerated in the past. He stayed with her. He wasn't dishonest. Few people would hold her down like he did. He supported her, paid her visits, and even put off their wedding, so they could wed her while she was inside, to the entire planet. They had a legendary bond, the kind of love you only see in movies or in heartbreaking mixtape rhymes. That loyalty became the foundation of their lives. They wore their struggles as a badge of honor, raised children, and encouraged one another's aspirations. All of that, however, was put to the ultimate test. It all started with a single horrible night that altered everything. There were rumors that a young man had been shot several times and killed in the Bronx. It was not long before rumors became news stories. The suspect, a teenager with connections to the criminal underworld, is purportedly the son of Remy and Papoose. Their eldest is from a prior relationship, not the one they kept in the spotlight. Some in an effort to keep out of the spotlight. They believed they could save this person. The media quickly picked it up. There were rumors that Remy knew more information than she disclosed, that she might have assisted her son in tidying up, purportedly deleting texts, or even helping him leave town for a while. People claimed that she protected her child at all costs, just like any other mother would. However, this was no ordinary instance. The police weren't messing around. This was a murder and a life gone. Both Remy and Papoose were initially silent. Their social media accounts become inactive. Nothing, no comments, no posts. However, individuals began to make connections. Remy's enigmatic post from weeks prior to the murder now appeared to be a warning. Silence is sometimes preferable to speaking the truth. Back then, fans didn't understand what it meant, but now it makes them shiver. Police searched a house connected to their son as the inquiry progressed. They confiscated gadgets, discovered a firearm, and gained access to his phone. Things became even more dire at that point. Investigators discovered messages that suggested he had received coaching on his speech. Messages that appeared to be an attempt to shield him from prosecution. Someone familiar, someone older. It didn't take long for prosecutors to start accusing Remy Ma. The news was devastating. People were in awe. How could Remy, who had previously completed her sentence and started again, be back in court and worse, may be charged with attempting to shield her son from a murder charge? Although Papoose said nothing, the harm was already becoming apparent. When she made her first court appearance, he wasn't present. He didn't share any encouraging posts. People took notice. The man who used to wait for her outside the prison gates was no longer in the picture. Things quickly got out of hand. Remy Ma was accused by the DA of being an accessory after the fact and obstructing justice. They said she tampered with digital evidence, spoke to important witnesses and warned them not to speak, and assisted her son in eluding law enforcement. Everything was refuted by Remy. Her attorney contended that the texts were taken out of context, that she never intervened, and that she was just a mother in pain, attempting to make sense of what had happened. The prosecution, however, was not going to back down. Then followed the unexpected turn of events. Papoose was on the list of possible witnesses. The crowd went crazy. He would never testify. He would never betray Remy, they tweeted. However, it became evident that Papoose had been subpoenaed as the trial drew near. He also consented to testify following extensive deliberations with his own legal team. Remy was depicted in courtroom cartoons staring vacantly when her husband entered. She did not weep or blink. She did nothing except observe. Papoose pledged to be honest while avoiding her stare and glancing down while raising his hand. The judge questioned him about whether he realized the seriousness of what he was going to say. After giving a nod, he started. He talked cautiously and deliberately, as if each syllable might blow up. He acknowledged that there had been increasing hostilities at home, that Remy was fiercely protective of her son, and that she lost it when the murder occurred. He said she couldn't believe it. "Not my baby," she insisted repeatedly. "Not my child." He described how she would spend days in bed, seldom talking or eating. However, he claimed that after that, things altered. She became silent, calculating. She began calling, erasing texts, and advising family members to keep items in the family. There was utter silence in the courtroom. The judge seemed shaken as well. According to Papoose, he tried to stop her by telling her that they had to come forward and be honest. "I informed her that we couldn't shield him from this. We must allow the law to do its work," he added, his voice breaking. However, she said that she was never safeguarded by the system. So why should she put her child's trust in it? Remy eventually cracked when he had finished talking. She gazed at him with intense, yearning regret rather than rage. Her eyes filled with tears, and she started crying for the first time since the trial began. Just tears, not a sob. Controlled, quiet, and unpleasant. Everything changed after that day. The press went crazy. The headlines were loud. Remy is turned on by Papoose. The strongest relationship in hip-hop was destroyed by tragedy. Loyalty versus justice. There was disagreement among the fans. He did the right thing, according to some. He was accused of treachery by others. He vowed to always ride for Remy in old interviews that have now surfaced. They felt empty now. Ree's legal team took a risk back in court. They placed her in the stand. She insisted on testifying in her own defense, something that most attorneys attempt to avoid. Her tone was steady, quiet, and almost too serene. She didn't retract what she had done. She acknowledged that she spoke to people, erased certain messages, and asked questions that she probably shouldn't have, but she gave the excuse that, "I didn't want to bury my son. I've buried too many friends and too many brothers," she remarked. "I wasn't prepared to lose one more." She pleaded with the court to view her as a mother rather than a criminal. Someone who had fought for her life's survival. First on the streets, then behind bars, and then in the business world. "I've paid for my past," she declared. "I've put myself back together. I'm facing jail time once more for my excessive love. For my son, even though all I ever wanted was to give him a chance at life." The courtroom was repositioned. A few jurors appeared shaken as well. However, the legislation is not based on sentiments. It is based on facts, and Remy didn't think the facts were good. The jurors had to make a harsh decision. Treat a mother with compassion or discipline a lady who might have obstructed the administration of justice. In the meanwhile, public sentiment erupted. Arguments were all over Twitter. The hashtags #FreeMy and #Justice for the Victim were popular. Mixed messages were posted by celebrities. Cardi B and Fat Joe were among those who quietly offered their support. Others said nothing. Papoose was even called a snitch by certain supporters. Others, however, commended him, stating faked even though it broke him. He had the guts to speak the truth. In private, the empire was disintegrating. What was not captured by the cameras was whispered by insiders. Papoose was broken. The man, the husband, and the father were ripped in two, not the rapper or the powerful black king that fans had admired. Since Remy stood up, the truth has been leaking out like poison. He hadn't exchanged any words with her. He left the house they had previously constructed with love, hopes, and platinum plaques without a single phone call, letter, or text. Living alone in an uptown condo now, surrounded by darkness and silence. According to a close acquaintance, he keeps wearing his ring because he can't let go of it, not because he's holding on. The love was gasping beneath the weight of treachery. The trust gone, and it was still barely breathing. The trial continued to drag on like an unhealing wound. Every day, headlines popped. Charges of Remy Ma obstruction are growing. Once more, Papoose is spotted alone. The royal couple on the edge of hip-hop. Within the courtroom, Remy was a steel statue. No sobs, no breakdowns, just the sporadic gaze in the direction of the vacant seat where her husband used to sit with his hands folded and his eyes fixed in silent meditation. The courtroom froze when the final decision was delivered, finding the defendant guilty of obstruction of justice, but not guilty of accessory to murder. 5 years may not be life, but to a woman who had already battled valiantly to restore her reputation, 5 years was still a lifetime. She didn't recoil. She simply stood outside like a soldier and said something to her attorney. Like wolves, the journalists crowded the exits. Papoose was the center of attention. He didn't utter a word, yell, or even blink. He simply strolled. By the commotion, hoodie up, heart still bleeding, rings still on. But the quiet ended that evening. White lettering, black screen, Instagram story. The truth doesn't always you free. It simply crushes your heart. Boom, viral, hours and shares. In the millions. Supporters went into overdrive. Was Remy the target? At himself, at the legal system, speculation became the norm. Blogs were wildly popular. TikTok examined every possibility. But over all the commotion, one truth stood out more clearly than any. Headline: a chilly blade of justice had clashed with love and loyalty. The following week, Remy's legal team filed an appeal, pointing to fresh information that would reduce her sentence, possibly leading to a retrial, probation, or even hope. However, the true story had changed by that point. This was no longer about the courts. This was about a guy who must choose between protecting his soul and protecting her falsehoods, and the conflagration that results when a woman defends her child at all costs. Will Remy get away with it? It was not the question that hung in the air. The question was, will their love survive the sentence? Because a prison cell isn't always a prison cell. It might occasionally be the stillness between two people who had made a vow to never tell lies to one another. And love either dies or grows indestructible in that stillness. This was the test. Will Papoose and Remy ever get better? Supporters are now wondering, will this wound heal with time? Or is one of the strongest ties in hip-hop coming to an end? What are your thoughts? Was Papoose's testimony the correct thing to do? Or did he turn on the one woman who was always there for him? And ought Remy to face consequences? Or was she really an ordinary mother attempting to save her son? Leave a comment below with your opinions. For more startling celebrity twists, courtroom drama, and the true tales behind the headlines, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Gossip Spill. Because of the story, hip-hop may be forever haunted by it.